Welcome to the HMO Property Show, by investors for investors. Brought to you by the HMO Property Co, Australia's leaders in impact investing. Investments made with the intention to generate a measurable, beneficial social or environmental impact alongside a positive financial return. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show, and today's guest needs no introduction. She's my beautiful wifey and baby mama, Miss Joanna Gibb.
Hello, thank you for having me back.
Welcome back. It's always a pleasure. I haven't seen you for a few hours. Before we get into talking property, let's talk about our favourite subject.
Oh, Freddy. Freddy G.
So, back in December, Joe gave birth to our beautiful baby boy, Freddy G. And do you know what? Before we had kids, I used to speak to people that had kids, and I was just like, God, all you do is talk about your kids.
That's all we do now.
Now turned into them people. What a joy, hey?
Oh, yes. We were just saying the other day how we didn't feel like anything was quite missing until he came along, and that's kind of the piece of the family puzzle.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so good, so good. And we just had our first little family holiday, went down to Margaret River.
Yeah, beauty.
Incredible. Right, let's talk business.
Yes. Get back into it.
Big milestone we've just hit in the business. We've just done our 100th HMO.
Woo!
Look at that. 100th HMO. That's all. To the market now, we brought 560 rooms to the market. That's pretty crazy considering we started this with a goal to just replace our own income with cash flow from real estate. And then with the power of social media and podcasting and all the other things that we do, people just started asking us for help. And now it's turned into the beast that it is today. 560 odd rooms. It's just crazy, isn't it?
And I feel like it wouldn't be possible without the demand, and the demand is huge. So I think just knowing that 100 rooms is not it touching the surface has obviously been able to give a lot of build to our growth of our business.
Yeah, well, the thing is, affordable accommodation will never go out of fashion. It's always going to be needed. And people are starting to get a bit itchy now because they're going, oh, what about if the market crashes and stuff like that? In the last GFC, do you know what the biggest car manufacturer in the world was?
Tell me.
Hyundai, because it was affordable.
Yes.
And they're still the biggest car manufacturer on the planet now. And I hope someone doesn't check this out. But our other son, baby Bronson's kicking at the door right now.
Fair baby, trying to get
fair
in.
Baby. Yeah, Hyundai, because they were affordable, they're the biggest manufacturer in the world now. Someone like Lamborghini probably has more profit margin, but they're not doing the revenue that Hyundai do. So affordability is always there. And I think we've just tapped into a really untapped market in Western Australia.
Yeah, and I think we learnt a lot even through COVID, how, a lot of rentals suffered and we grew because of the need there in the market.
Yeah, incredible. Vacancy rate in Perth right now, but the Perth market in general, I mean, I was reading a post because there's a lot of people looking at Perth at the minute. So all these buyers agents that have been in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, they're all now talking about Perth, which is quite interesting because we've been talking about Perth for the last 3 years. Now everybody's like, oh, Perth this, Perth that. And I'm seeing some of the suburbs that they're buying and I'm like, really? But everyone seems to be a Perth expert now.
Yeah, apparently so.
Well, what's happened in Perth is we've had the lowest vacancy rate right now we've ever had in 40 years. 40 years, right? We've got for rent right now in the market 1,900 properties for rent, and 1,171 of them are houses, and 747 of them are units. Now, let's put that into perspective. There's over 2 million people live in Western Australia.
It's scary.
It's scary, isn't it?
Really scary.
Well, then when you look at properties to buy, it gets even worse. So to buy now, there's 7,076 properties on the market to purchase. 3,484 of them are houses. 1,855 are units. And you've got 1,737 blocks of land for sale right now. Now, of them 3,484 houses that are for sale, not one of them is suitable for a HMO conversion, because if it was, we'd be buying it, because we've literally got 8 or 9 clients right now that were looking for properties for established And we've also just come off the back of our 2 biggest months that the company's ever had. And fair play to the marketing team and the sales team. We are now averaging 15 to 20 new clients per month signing up to work with us at the HMO Property Co and JNG Property Group, which, I mean, let's have a clap for that one. Lots of celebrations today.
Yeah, but lots of impact we can do with them numbers.
Lots of impact. So that's essentially 2 6 of the 12. So it's essentially 120 rooms a month that we're bringing to the market, times that by 12 if we average that over a year. 1,200 rooms a year. That's 1,200 people. That's essentially, we're going to double, 20x the size of the business within the space of 12 months. And I'm not going to say if we keep that up, because we will keep it up, because it's took us a long time to get to the position that we're in now. The systems that we've got, the team that we've got, the outcomes that we generate has all come through the years of, let's call them mistakes, lessons learned, all these sort of things, the blood, sweat, the tears. What a journey it's been, hey? What
a journey, absolutely, across both businesses. So obviously from the development side to the property management side, the learnings, I mean, we learn every day, but the team and the processes that we've been able to build because of those learnings have been awesome.
Yep. It's, wow. So let's talk about waitlist and demand, and also testing markets as well, because now we're getting such a volume of clients coming through. We're moving into suburbs where we haven't been before. The clients we're attracting have got a lot more wealth and a lot more surplus cash flow than they used to have 2 years ago. So we're seeing people with very strong equity and cash positions, which means we're now looking in infill suburbs. We're producing real high-end HMO outcomes in real blue-chip suburbs. So we're doing a lot of market testing in suburbs that we've never worked in before, which is exciting.
Yes.
So how are you seeing the market testing at the minute?
Oh, it's really scary, and we even get this through the ads that we're running for the properties that we've got for rent, which they last only a couple of seconds before they're all snapped up. But with the market testing, that is just, we normally put it on for a week, but sometimes we have to turn it off after a couple of days, because there's just been so much demand in these areas in particular, that almost when you ask me to do market testing, I say there's no point. I know what that's going to be like, but we just put it on there just to make sure that the way that we talk. Sorry, he's correcting my mic position. Let me just move my mic. It's the demand is crazy, but it's frightening, because the types of messages that I'm getting from the types of people are people that really need it, and they're pretty desperate for accommodation.
Yeah. So how accurate is the market testing that we're doing at the minute then? Because it's bordering on desperation, isn't it?
It is, and that's why we have to be really careful with our fair rental prices, because if we went and put rooms on there for $500, they'd probably still have high demand, but that's desperation. And that's then going to lead to troubles down the line, because these people may not be able to afford that on an ongoing basis. So we're going with the same structure that we normally do, what we believe is fair for that type of room. And then any increases would just be, looking at that medium increase for that suburb. So we're putting them on as a fair rate, but still, so it's beneficial for the owner, but it can't be, favourable on one side. It has to be something, we're looking for longevity for the future. So anybody that comes in, we need to look at their credentials, like still what they can afford, make sure that, we're not squeezing in 3 people to one room, because that's what some people are asking us for. So that's obviously not the route we're gonna take. Even though the demand is high and it's all a bit crazy, we just still stick to what we know, the types of people that we want to attract for these properties, and the types of people that we want to support on that journey.
Yeah. So if someone, say we've got a room that's renting out for $350 a week, or let's say we're even just testing that market, what sort of what's the word I'm looking for? What sort of numbers are people throwing around to secure that room?
Yeah, it's bonkers, isn't it? So just to give you some context, even probably 18 months ago, if I was running test ads, I'd probably get, within a week, I'd get 70 to 100 inquiries.
In a week?
In a week.
Yep.
And people would say, I'll pay $350. Some people would offer me lower. These days, we're getting nearly 100 a day, and people are throwing more money at the situation. Another $15 on top. Like anything, can I come and see it now? And that's when it becomes frightening, because everybody's having to throw more money to the situation, but not everyone can afford that.
Yeah. And on the topic of affordability, so the government, the Australian government, class you as being in housing stress if you were spending more than 30% of your gross wage on accommodation. So if you earn $1,000 a week before tax, and you're spending more than $300 a week on accommodation, and that just doesn't include your rent or your mortgage, that includes all your bills included, then you are technically classed as being in housing stress by the Australian government. Now, I sat down with my business partner, Troy, with the Western Australian government. It was a lady that she's the head of policy for the ministerial office that's in at the minute. And when we were talking about affordable accommodation, she tested me with that. She went, how do you know these rooms are affordable? And when I said it's 30% of your gross income, she was like, yeah, you're right.
Tick.
Yeah.
Correct answer.
But yeah, we've been getting some really interesting phone calls, having some really interesting meetings. Like I say, we've sat down with the government just last week. We've also had a lot of interest from international funds, mainly from the UK and also from Monaco, of all places. And they're talking telephone numbers compared to what we're used to. Like we've done 100 houses in the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years. These guys are talking about doing that in the next 6 to 12 months. Every year for the next 10 years.
Yeah, which is music to my ears.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
heading up the property management side of the business.
Yeah.
Knowing the demand there that's needed, we need that.
Yeah, it's really interesting space to be in at the minute because there's a lot of money out there. It's all chasing a return. And with the interest rates as high as they are, there's only really HMO and NDIS that provide them returns unless you're going on, large-scale build-to-rent models, which, we'll get there eventually. But right now, I think there's so much work to do in this single house co-living space. It's absolutely staggering demand out there. How long does it take to fill a house at the minute, Joe?
Oh, God, like minus the week. So as soon as rooms are coming up, we've got people there ready to move in. Look, there's still some rooms that do stick and we have to be really careful. So we've just had a house that's gone live last week and it's a 6-bedroom property. 3 of the rooms are full. All of the rooms could have been full in a couple of days, but we still have to be careful of the people we're putting in. We've got to make sure that there's good harmony in the house. We can't just get everyone in there because we want to fill a room immediately. We're going to have to go through the parameters. So a lot of the people that were applying, they couldn't afford it. So again, it comes down to them throwing money at a situation where we can't just grab that money. We have to be, think of the long-term game, I should say, because if in 2 months' time they just stop paying rent, it's harder for the owner and it's harder for us, and we don't want that to happen. We don't want somebody to be in housing stress like that. So we just, we could fill them quicker sometimes, but depending on the area, sometimes depends on the type of people that you attract. And some people are coming in from all different areas, and they've got the dog and the kid and the wife and everybody with them, and we just can't house all them people.
Yep. And there's a lot of people, like you said, there's a lot of people that can't afford this style of accommodation now. Social housing is there, right? We're not competition for social housing, and we don't see ourselves as competition for the standard rental market. What we're calling ourselves is the missing middle of accommodation or rental accommodation in Western Australia, because social housing is there. It's access there for people that need it. However, right now, the wait list, how big's the wait list?
Oh, it's it was like 60,000 for individual applicants, and it'll be more now.
Yeah. So every day that social housing wait list is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, what we're seeing, the projected amount of social housing required to bring to the market between now and 2040 is 64,900 houses, right? That's what social housing is needed. But what we're seeing when we look at the stats is social housing, the amount of social housing the government provides is getting less and less and less because stock is getting older and older, and it costs them so much more to refurbish it. And they're struggling to get money out the door right now. The Western Australian government's one of the richest on the planet with our surplus from all the mining that's going on. But they cannot get money out the door. So what they're doing is they're offloading the stock instead. Now, John Carey, don't get me wrong, he's doing a great job. He's putting a lot of money into social housing, but he cannot get it out the door because there's so much red tape and bureaucracy around government and providing accommodation for the government. And the government are the government. They're not property developers. They're not property managers. They're none of that stuff. But they just make all them other things a lot more complex. Now, at the other end of the spectrum from social housing, we've got the private rental market, which we've just touched on there. We've got 1,171 houses for rent on the private rental market. It's just, it's one or the other.
And I would say, look, I don't have any stats around this, but I would say that there's a good majority of people on the social housing waitlist because they can't afford the private rental market. They can afford what we bring to the market, but there's obviously not enough of that either.
Yes.
So if we can provide much more of this accommodation, it's going to really ease the pressure off that social housing waitlist. People can kind of turn and look to us instead of having to go to that private rental market.
Yep. That's kind of where I was trying to go with it. Couldn't get my words out.
Hurry up.
No, it wasn't you. So we've seen the private rental market, the median house price and the median rental price has increased quite dramatically and is going to continue to go up. Supply and demand fundamentals are just, there's no way the normal housing market and the rental market are going to stop going up for the next 2 to 3 years, purely because of the lack of accommodation on the market. And the influx of people that are migrating to the state right now is staggering. Staggering. I can't believe they've turned the tap on the way they have with the problems that they've got in the way of accommodation. Now, who do you bring in first? You bring in the builders to build all the new accommodation. But if you bring in the builders, they bring the families with them, which need schools, which need hospital cares and doctors and nurses and teachers. Or do you bring the doctors and nurses and teachers in first to support the additional infrastructure that we bring in? But then where do they live? Because we haven't got enough housing. It's a real pickle that we're in right now. And we're not sat here saying the HMO is the only answer.
It is.
It is one of the many styles of accommodation that's needed. There's still family housing needed, there's still apartments needed, and there's more HMOs that are required in the market right now because...
Yeah, and I think the more HMOs... Sorry to cut you off, I tend to do that quite a bit. The more HMOs that we can have, the more people who look, especially single people, can turn away from that private rental market and adopt this way of living. It frees up more houses for the private rental market. So there's a lot of work that we're trying to do in the background to try and shift people's perception, even if they can afford or get into the private rental market, switch their perception as to change their way of thinking about the way that they live, come into like a HMO co-living environment, free up those houses for people who need it, so families with children, etc. Yeah. So I think there's a massive shift that needs to happen for WA, and we're seeing it now. We're seeing the types of people that are coming knocking on our door to get accommodation. They'll have never thought of share housing a year or two ago. But I always come back to Airbnb. Like if I'd have said to my mum a few years ago, Airbnb's around, 10 years ago, you're going to go on holiday and live in someone else's home, she'd be like, absolutely not. And then, you shift to where the market goes, the affordability goes.
Or you come out of a nightclub and share a ride home with a stranger, that's not a taxi.
Yeah. So this is exactly where co-living's going. And we know this because of Europe and over in the States, like people are being more savvy in the way that they're living. They're choosing more of a lifestyle-based accommodation rather than the whole big house with big backyard, whatever it might be, the Australian dream that used to be. People are savvier to it now, but we want to kind of make that shift to make it the private rental market more relevant to the people who need it, like the families.
And it's not just the renters as well. The investors are becoming more savvy, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
The investors have got more money and they want to get a return. They're sick of negatively gearing properties, claiming it back on the tax. Old, boring strategy.
Yeah.
If that's
it blows
your strategy,
your mind, doesn't it, thinking that people did that?
You're never going to quit your job whilst your portfolio is negatively geared. Never going to quit your job because you need to stay in work to cover the shortfall in that rent or that income to then claim it back on your tax. Now, if you haven't got a job, you still need to put the money into that portfolio to keep it afloat. But because you haven't got an income, you can't offset it against your tax because you haven't earned anything. So it's just dead money. But when you've got a portfolio that produces cash flow week on week on week on week, you can quit your job and you still get paid every week as long as you've got tenants in place.
Yeah.
How the property management team managing the rental increases across the portfolio at the minute?
Yeah, okay. And this has been a big thing, right? Because a lot of clients as well, their interest rates have gone up and, they also need to be able to make money to help offset against their interest payments, etc. And we've put this concept together in motion to make sure it's beneficial for an investor as well as it is for the person that's renting a room. So what we've been looking at, we need to make sure that we're doing fair rental increases, because our values really align with being able to help people. That's the purpose of our company, is to help people, and therefore it's an affordability perspective. So we don't want to just go, okay, well, we'll put your room rates up to quadruple the amount because we know that the demand's there. So we look per suburb of what the median rental increases are in the standard rental market, and then we adopt that into the room rate. So if a suburb's gone up by 12%, then we will look to talk to the housemate in the house to say, look, the suburb's gone up by 12%, and therefore your next increase at the end of your agreement will go up. We need it to be fair.
Yeah,
I think that's the main thing.
So it's in line with real world rental market prices in the exact same suburb. So we're not all of a sudden renting a room out for the same price as a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house.
No,
right?
Because people would pay that right now, and
yes.
it's not seen as fair. And again, we're going to fall into that trap of, are they going to be able to afford that rent on an ongoing basis?
Now, whilst it looks attractive on the balance sheet, when you've got a huge amount of cash flow coming in, like you say, it's not fair. It's not long-term sustainable as well. It's only going to be short-term, and then you're potentially going to have vacancies that you're going to have to fill. Now, if you're providing a fair amount, a room for a good amount in that suburb, there's more chance of you having long-term sustainable tenants in that house. So whilst it might be a quick cash grab, definitely not for us, we would prefer to play fair. I mean, don't get me wrong, these properties are still producing cash flow.
Yeah.
Crazy amounts of cash flow compared to everything else that's out there in the market right now. So I don't think we've got to hike the prices up. Keep it fair. Still making some money. Still making
a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the tenants for a little bit there.
Yes.
What are some of the biggest challenges you face when managing shared living spaces?
So, look, the challenges, and we've spoke about it before, whether it's down to people, keeping the place tidy and what have you, but I really want to go into a bit more of the deeper challenges that we face, and that tenants or housemates face themselves.
Yes, the juicy stuff.
The juicy stuff. So, I think that, there's a big part of why we do what we do, and it's not just to help people live more affordably, but it's to be able to create connections, make sure that they're not lonely. There's huge statistics around people who could have episodes of loneliness, and that was 1 in 3 Australians. That was up until 2009. So since COVID, it's gone sky high about the amount of people that can suffer from loneliness.
Yeah, right. That's because we've been building 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses for the last 20 years and only one person living in them.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of things that we're trying to do to help navigate that. So with loneliness, obviously, some people are coming to us not because of an affordability, but because they want to have the security of living with other people, be able to make a cup of tea and have a bit of a chit-chat with somebody if they want to. So with that, there's also the mental well-being perspective. So I think that mental health has a huge part to play, no matter if you're living on your own or you're living with people. When you're living with people, sometimes then that has a bit of cause a little bit of concern in the house. So you might have one person that may have lost their job, or they might have just come out of a marriage, and they get down. They could spiral out of control. They might hit the bottle and stop paying the rent and kind of go off the rails. So there's a lot that we're trying to do to help support people, and we're working with the Happiness Core on creating the the housemate support program, where if we feel like somebody is going through a hard time, or we're hearing this from other housemates that there's some irregular activity, or the way that room 1 is normally really happy and bubbly and now not so much, and they've become a little bit aggressive if they've had a couple of drinks, we're really trying to support them early on so that it doesn't spiral out of control, and we want to be able to help people in them situations. So how we deal with that is we really look to have open communication with our housemates, always checking in, see how things are going. We send surveys out to them on a regular basis, but the property managers have got really good relationships that they're building now with each housemate in that house, which doesn't only help us have a good selection process as to anyone new that we're introducing, but it really helps that two-way communication, that if somebody is seeming to maybe cause a few issues, it generally reflects on their mental well-being because something has not gone right. You know, they're not a bad person. Something's probably just happened to them. Yep. And we're trying to address that earlier. So yes, there's things that you can navigate if people aren't washing the pots or, you know, playing the TV's loud, but they're kind of the smaller things that, you know, we're really trying to look at it from a mental well-being perspective. And as long as everyone feels supported in them homes, they're staying longer in them properties as well.
Yeah. We're a big supporter of mental health, and especially in kids. Did we mention that we had a kid? But we're big advocates in this mental health space and mental well-being. Like Joe said there, we partner with the Happiness Corps. We sponsor their Happiness Gala every year, and we get them into the office quite often to do chats to the team and stuff like that. We're also big supporters of Arm for Life, my good friend Adam Fazula. And Arm for Life go around schools teaching kids about, first of all, resilience and having strong self-esteem, but also about bullying, healthy relationships, strong mental health, self-esteem, resilience. Yeah, like incredible organisation. Been lucky enough to spend some time with him at some of the camps as well with the kids. Phenomenal outcomes, like kids that turn up with their self-esteem so low that they can't even look up away from the phone and look you in the eye. But we take the phones off them. We let them loose in a field with a football and stuff like that. And by the end of the 3 days, they're just like totally different kids. And incredible. Two incredible organisations, which we're very proud to support.
And we're running all the property management team now going through the mental health first aid course run by the Happiness Corps, and it's going to be mandatory for anybody who joins the business to go through that mental health first aid training, because we are dealing with people who have some mental wellbeing issues. It's good to be able to have the team geared up to, you know, they're not counsellors, they're not qualified in that area, but it's in a way that they can navigate and point them in the right direction of where they should be going. Yeah,
and we are also having on that happiness on the housemate support programme. There's going to be a login for the team as well.
Yeah. So I think for us, look, this is a full circle. It's a full circle. Helping people, helping our team members, helping the people in the houses, helping the investors. Like what we're trying to do is touch everybody along the way, and the more that we can support our team, the more we can support investors, that we can support the housemates. There's much more that we want to do with these houses that are coming to the market. I actually attended a breakfast 2 weeks ago with Zonta House. And they've got a rapid rehousing program, and it really shows how this market is scary, not having accommodation available. Zonta House do support women with fleeing from domestic violent relationships or situations, keep them in refuge. However, they need a longer term option. I've got baby brain. It's hard for me to get words out these days. So the Zonta House put together a breakfast and invited developers, property managers, etc., just to try and really show that 1 in 3 women are affected by domestic violence, whether it's from an ex or current partner. 1 woman every week is killed by an ex-partner or a current partner. If these women cannot get long-term accommodation, they go back to that partnership, relationship, where they are being treated violently. Now, this really was an eye-opener. We've spoke a lot the last couple of years how we'd love to have houses that we can house, single women with children, or just more vulnerable people who come from vulnerable situations and have houses relevant to them. But this really kind of opened my eyes, because yes, there's a lot of families and singles out there that can't get on the private rental market, but there's people that if they don't, it could lead to death. Like it's staggering. Like when you hear that, how much effect that we could have bringing this accommodation to the market. So I've actually invited them down to a new house that we're launching next week. They can see the accommodation, so that any females that come to them needing long term, they know the type of thing that we offer, and we'd like to partner with them in doing so. So I think, we've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent from the mental well-being space, but just the amount of people that could benefit from this accommodation, it's more than just making money, right, for an investor, and it's more than that for us. We're really passionate about being able to help more people in that area. But it's a good direction that I want to kind of focus on in particular in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. I think the impact that we can, I'll say that we want to and can make with the position that we've got ourselves into now, with the brand that we've built, with the people that we're talking to, the outcomes that we've already created, I think, the future's bright, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
It's very
Do you know what?
exciting.
It really, you're always going to have haters out there, but I see some comments that are on like the Facebook posts, and it's like, you're draining people of cash, or you're, I don't know, whatever they say that we are.
Screwing. I'm getting hacked down on a daily basis online, but I know it's just people's perception of the style of accommodation that we provide. And if they only took the extra couple of seconds, so I just click on the Facebook page and just see what we do, or click on the website and understand the style of accommodation that we provide. Because it's all about perceptions, and I'm really interested to see how the meeting with Zonta House goes, because what their perception of the style of accommodation that you're going to take them to and what you actually show them, I bet it's totally different.
Yeah, and I had that conversation with them. So at the end, I went up and met one of their team leads who helps in this program. And I said, look, you've probably not got anybody in the audience who's doing the accommodation that we are, but we're actually more of a professional share house co-living space. She was so interested, but I think it's going to, it'll blow her away knowing what we can offer, and them knowing that we're there. We're going to open it up to our clients and let them know, like, everybody that they are having in their houses, they are helping.
Yeah. When we sat down with the in the government office last week, we started talking about the style of accommodation that we had, and then we took a bit of a slide deck with us, and about 6 slides in, we actually pulled up a picture of one of the houses, and I said, and this is one of the houses we've done in certain suburb. And she just like looked at us both, went, wow, I didn't expect it to look like that at all.
It's the perception.
And then she went on to say, look, there's a lot of institutional money out there at the minute, and we've had probably 6 or 7 meetings with people similar to you guys that want to provide housing, but it just doesn't make sense what they're wanting to provide. She goes, this is totally different. She goes, I've never seen anything like this before. And, the fact that you've got the money behind you through the funds that we're talking about, and the fact that you can deliver the housing that you've got because you've got the system that you've got the proven track record. This isn't a dream that you've come up with. Yep. You've already brought over 500 rooms to the market, so we know it works. We know there's demand there. She was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, can you just sign this for me then, please?
But there's going to be more to come. And, one of the things I'm super excited about, obviously, I've 3 months into being a new mum, first-time mum. I love still being able to dip my toe into what we're doing because I'm really passionate about what we're doing. And now that, I don't have as much time on my hands to come into the office, I'm going to certainly start adding more value, and the designs and the things that we're going to bring to the market, the type of accommodation that we're going to bring to the market, will take it to the next level. And that's really going to make people shift in the way that they think about living, so the housemates in particular.
And there's a bit of a change going on in the property management business as well, isn't there?
Yes, so I'm very excited to have a general manager in place now. She's been here a week. She's still here, so I'm catching up with her weekly. She's going to run the day-to-day. She's got a lot of experience in property management, but she's very innovative and loves what we do, and is going to take it to the next level for us as well. The quality of service that we offer is just going to ramp right up, and we want to make sure we maintain that for our existing and coming clients. But I think what we're trying to achieve on a daily basis is much more than property management. It's people management, it's mental well-being kind of support. It's a bit of everything. So I'm super proud of what we've done and the team that we've got.
Yeah, and on that as well, Paula, your mum, is also retiring. So Paula helped to set the business up, didn't she? Back in the days, I remember sitting around the table when we lived in the apartment in South Perth, and I said, we already had 4 properties at that time, and it was doing our heads in. The management was quite hard. We were working long hours, And we said to your mum, look, we're going to set a property management business up. We want you to manage it for us. And I remember physically saying to her, this could turn out to be quite big. Here we are now with we've got 174 rooms under construction right now in the ground, and we've just got another 34 people that have signed up to work with us over the last couple of months. So
it's amazing, and she's done such an amazing job supporting us since 2017 to today.
She has.
We've spoke about her retirement for a while now. She kind of felt like we were just bluffing her, but now it's happening. She's really excited. So at the end of April, Mum's going to retire, and she's going to be my biggest support with her gorgeous grandson Freddy, and which means I can have a little bit more time in the business if I need to, but for her to spend some quality time with her grandson and just enjoy her life. This has been her life.
Yes.
She doesn't stop thinking about JNG.
She doesn't. But Paul, I want to take this opportunity to just thank you for all of your hard work that you've done, and we couldn't have done it without you.
No.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, what should we finish on?
What should we finish on? Well, I mean, a big celebration that we've had our 100th house.
Yes.
Cheers to that. Should have had a bottle of champs in here with it. Anything else?
Well, I normally finish on this question, which I haven't really prepped you for, but if you had $1 million to invest, Joanna, what would you invest it in and why?
Oh, that might be showing what I'm going to do in the future. Just moving on with helping more people. So I just want to be able to give happy homes to people that deserve it. So definitely would just put it back in this space, whether it is a HMO or something a bit bigger. Yeah.
Now, when we started the business, like you said, we had 4 properties when we started up. Then we got to 6 properties. We had $100,000 a year cash flow coming in. I quit my job, stepped away from Woodside, and once you've got them extra 8 hours a day, you can really accelerate your journey. I had no idea, we had no idea that this is going to end up becoming what it was. But when you've got so much more time on your hands, just network more, meet more people, ask more questions, don't have to answer to anybody else, it shifts everything, and you can really accelerate the journey more. Now, I can't remember where I was going with that.
Well, you asked me the question about the
$1
million.
Because we started scaling the business the way that we did, it's literally put a halt in our own journey in the way of properties, because scaling business takes a lot of money, takes a lot of time. We also had no serviceability for a long amount of time because we were both technically self-employed. Now, we are now in a position where we're going to start reinvesting back into HMOs. We've just had approval on our 15 SDA apartments in West Perth in partnership with our business partner Troy. So we've got 15 SDA apartments being built. I think the demolition is going to start in mid-May, and then we should start site works probably a month after that as well. So 15 SDA apartments coming through, but we're also going to start bringing through more HMOs as well. Infill, great suburbs, but more importantly, we're going to really spice them up, aren't we?
This is what I'm so excited about. Yeah, we're going to just bring so much more colour, pop, just different stuff into these properties, which lights me up. I love doing it, but I want people to walk into a house and think this is my home and be really proud of being there. So I think we bring a gorgeous product to the market, but I just want to kind of take it to the next level now.
It's one of the values of the business. We are always improving.
Yes.
It's one of the values of the business, and we always want to constantly evolve and innovate, which is another one of our values. Constantly evolve and innovate and improve the outcome for the tenants, for the investors, for everybody. And one of the big things that we have done is interest rates were going up, so cash flow is coming down. So we've now come up with a model where we can increase that cash flow by adding additional rooms, and I don't think anybody else in Perth or Australia really knows how to do what we've achieved to do. So we've now got more bedrooms in Perth, and no one else is doing it. No. So there you go. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think anybody else is actually operating in this space. I haven't seen anybody.
No.
So not only have we brought out and increased the cash flow for our investors, we're also going to be increasing or improving the outcome for the people that live there by producing a much better outcome. Yeah,
increase the quality of the product. And I'm going to get you to invite me back on this in 2 months' time. This is my 2-month, I kind of want you to be my accountability partner on this, but an exciting new venture that we're going to talk about in this space.
Oh, we're not talking about it yet.
No.
Ooh.
You don't even
And
know.
on that cliffhanger.
You don't even know. I've even mapped it out this morning.
And on that cliffhanger, join us again in 2 months' time. Join us again next week on the HMO Property Show. Joanna, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you stay up to date with all the cash flow positive property updates.